This video was brought to you by LogRocket, the front-end performance monitor that records videos of user sessions along with logs and network data, surfacing problems and revealing the root cause of every bug. Try it today at logrocket.com/YT.
Hello there guys, today we're looking at how to use web fonts in CSS. So back in the old days of web, we were pretty much stuck with just a few system fonts like Times, Verdana, Helvetica, but nowadays we've got a lot more options. We can pretty much use whatever the font we like. So to show you how to do this, we're going to be covering how to host your own fonts. We'll look at Google Fonts and how to import them, and then we're going to be looking at my favorite kind of font and what I believe will be the future of web fonts, and that is variable fonts. But just because we can use all of these fonts doesn't mean we should. Don't forget that the more fonts that you're pulling in, importing, the more of a performance hit your site will take. So sometimes it is good to use system fonts when you can, but we don't want all our sites looking exactly the same with all the same fonts. So here we're going to learn how to use custom fonts. Okay, so let's start by looking at importing some custom fonts that you are going to host yourself. So say for example, you've downloaded a font and you want to use it on your site. Before we do anything, I'm just going to show you my setup. We've got a basic HTML file here that links over to our styles. CSS, we've got a container and a H1 and a P, and let's have a look at our folder. We've got our index and our styles there. I've got an empty folder I've created called fonts, and this is where we're going to put our fonts. So what we need to do is convert your font files into something that the browser can use, and these will be WAF files. So to do that, we are going to come over to our browser and we're going to open a new tab. Let's just open this, and then we're going to go to fontsquirrel.com. This is where we're going to do our converting inside the generator. And then here we're given three options. We've got basic, optimal, and expert. Optimal will give us WAF files, a WAF and a WAF2 file. This is what we need. Most modern browsers will recognize this, even older browsers, but we can get away with using the WAF. But if you need to use more file types, you can click on expert. We're given a lot more options here. I won't go through them all because we won't have time, but yeah, if you guys want to do that, the options are there for you. So let's click back on optimal and let's click on yes, because we need a license for the font. I've got a font that I downloaded earlier called Spartan. So we're going to use this one and we're going to open it, and let's just wait for that to do. And then once that's done, we can click download your kit. Now this takes a little bit of time, so I will pop back once that's done. Okay, so once that's downloaded, we'll be given a zip file. We can open this, and then we're given a folder. Inside this folder, what we're after is the WAF2 and the WAF font files. So what we can do then is go to our root, and inside our root we have this fonts folder, so we can drag them into there. And then we need to import them into our CSS files. So let's come over here, and to do that we're going to say at font face, open our curlies, and I'm going to say font family, and the font is called Spartan. So I'm going to call this Spartan. You can call it whatever you want, but just remember we have to reference it later. And then we have to grab the font file. So to do that, we're going to say source URL, open brackets, and it's in our fonts folder. And you can see VS Code has given me the names of the files that are in there. If you don't see this, you can just come back here and copy the name of the font and paste that into here. And then what we want to say, oh, not yet, format here, and it's a WAF2, this one, and then we want to source the WAF1 now, so we're going to say URL, and then again that's in the fonts folder, and it's the WAF file, and then that is a format of WAF. Okay, so now we need to target something. So I'm going to target our H1 one here. Actually, let's go with the body. Let's change the font on the whole body. So to do this, we can say font family, and I've called it Spartan here. So we're going to say Spartan, and hopefully now when we save, we should see some changes. So there we go. That is now using our Spartan font that is hosted by ourselves. So one thing we need to do is show a fallback font while this font is loading. So to do that, we can go display swap, and then after our Spartan, we're going to say Helvetica, if I can spell it, Helvetica, and then sans serif. And basically what this will do is it will stack. So while this is loading, it will show Helvetica. If Helvetica isn't available, it will show sans serif. Now there's a lot of properties that we can, or values that we can use here under our display. We won't have time to go through all of them today, but I guess you guys can go and do a bit of research yourself on that. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for hosting your own fonts. So next we're going to look at using Google Fonts. Okay, so first of all, we're going to want to go and grab some fonts from Google. So let's come over here, and then we're going to go fonts.google.com. And as you can see, we are presented with some fonts here. So you guys can obviously search for your own or use something here. Let's just zoom in a bit so you can see this a bit better. There we go. And what should we use? I think we'll go with Source Sans Pro for the header. Let's go like that. So we click that, and then we can come in here, down here, and we can see our selection, and we've got two ways to embed the font. We can use the standard method or the @import method. We'll start with the standard method. Before I do anything, we can customize the font. So we click customize, and this will give us various weights. So we're given regular 400 by default. So let's add a bold 700. There we go. And then we can we can keep that open. And let's add, just for this demo, let's add another font somewhere. Let's try Poppins. And so we've got two families selected now. So we want to come back to embed, and then we copy this link like so, and then we go back to our VS Code and we can paste that into header. So come back over here, and then let's just make that a bit bigger so you can see it for now. So then here we go, we've got our family Poppins, our Source Sans Pro. So we've got our two weights here, the regular weight and the 700. And then, like we talked about earlier, Google has given us a display swap property here. This is what we did over here. So it's basically the same thing. So let's come back over here, and then what we want to do is target our H1 first. So let's target our H1 and give that the font of Source Sans Pro, I think. So let's go H1 and go like this, and then we can come back over to Google Fonts, and then down here we can see how you will specify that in the CSS. Now we want to make our H1 the Source Sans Pro, so we're going to copy this, and we're going to come back to our VS Code, and we'll let's open this first so you can see it changing. That might help. And then we're going to paste font family Source Sans Pro into there, and you can see our fallback font is sans serif. Let's save this, and there we go. So we can see our header has changed. Now that looks like it's changed to the bold 700. So if we want to change the weight to our regular weight, we can say font weight 400, and that should make our font less of a weight. Let's now change our paragraph font. So we imported two fonts, which the second one was Poppins. So if we come back over to, just sneak here behind this window, we can see here our font family Poppins. Let's copy that, come back to our VS Code, and then we can paste that into there. And then before I save it, let's just come here and we'll save it, and we should, not that one, we should see our font change. There we go. Now, there is another way we can import the font. Let's take a look back at Google Fonts quickly. That's behind here somewhere. Hold on a second. There we go. And so we've got the import method. So if we click here, we can see here, we can paste this into our style sheet above here, let's say. And basically this will do exactly the same thing as this, but this blocks processing of like further style sheets until the fonts have been passed. So it's not really a recommended way to go. I would stick with using your link. Once we've got the fonts in now, obviously there is hundreds of things that we can do to them, style wise, pixel size, rems, ems, we can underline, we can make them italic there. It's a whole video in itself. So maybe we can look at that another time, but yeah, for now that is how to import fonts from Google. In the next video, in the next section, sorry, let's look at doing variable fonts. Okay, so what are variable fonts? Well, variable fonts are awesome. They are a designer's dream. But technically they're individual font files that behave like multiple fonts. So we can adjust the weight, the width and the slant as we work, and other properties too, depending on the font. So you can see here that we've brought in we've got a 400 and a 700. So we've got two files here, whereas a variable font will be one file that we can adjust using CSS properties. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to a website, which I've just forgotten what it is. I think it's v-fonts.com. There we go. That's the one. Let's open this, a little bit slow. Okay, here's an example here. So we have got, these are called axes. So we've got a weight, a width and a display on this particular font. If we change these, you can see, look at that. How awesome is that? So we can see the font weight is actually changing as we slide across these axes. Then we can go with the width as well. Look at that. How cool is that? And the display, it looks like it's not really doing that. Oh, there we go. We can see the line thickness of these changing slightly. There are other fonts too. There are different axes on different fonts. You can come down here. Let's have a look. We can look, if we slant these, we can make them metallic all in one go. Now, the problem with variable fonts is there isn't too many at the moment, and there's not a lot of free ones, but it is getting better. The other thing is browser support, which is great now for modern browsers, but some of the older browsers you can't use it with, but we can do fallbacks anyway. So but let's have a look down here. We can see here, if I zoom in a bit and show you, oh come on, it's not zooming. There we go. Oh, zoomed a bit late there. Let's come back a bit, and we can see down here, I hope you can see down here, the licensing. So well, let's have a look for, we can see these are all paid and commercial, open source, but that's not the best font example to use, is it? Okay, let's go with this one. This is open source. We've got a weight and a width we can use as an example. There we go. So let's go over to GitHub, and then we can see here we've got a folder called fonts. So let's click on this, and here's our font. So here's our TTF and our variable font. So let's download the variable version first. So come here, and then we can click download, and that will give us our variable. Now we need some WAF versions as a fallback in case the browser doesn't support variable fonts. So let's come back here, and let's have a look at our fonts again, and let's grab the true type font, and let's just go, where's a regular? See if we can find fallback for the regular. There we go, there's a regular. So let's come here and let's download the regular version. And what we need to do next is what we discussed earlier. We need to convert this TTF into the WAF files. So I'm going to go away and do that, and I'll pop back in a second when it's done. Okay, so now that we have converted our fonts, we should have 3 font files. We should have our inconsolata vf.ttf and our 2 WOF files for our backup fonts. So let's copy this into our fonts folder, and then we come back into our VS Code, and let's just clean this up a bit. Let's remove this, and then just come here, and we're going to use the same method we used earlier to import the fonts. Before we do the fallback, let's just look at doing the VF font. So let's go at font face, and I'm going to open that, and then we need to go source, and it's a URL. So we will go URL, and then we want to grab our fonts folder again, and then inside here we can see our variable font here. So let's grab that one, and then we need to give it a name. So I'm going to say font family. I forgot our semicolon. Font family. What should it be? Inconsolata VF, so we know it's our variable font. And then we'll close off that one, and then I'm going to target the H1 with this. Let's just open this a bit better, and then we're going to say H1, and we need to grab the font family, which we've called it. I'm going to copy and paste this so I don't make any mistakes. There we go. Now we've got a command. It is called font variation settings, and this is where we set the weight, the width. There's a few different properties that we can actually add. Our font doesn't actually have all of them. It has let's go back to the site and see what we've got here. So we can see inconsolata, it has a weight, and the value is between 275 and 900, and we have a width as well between 50 and 200. There are other properties as well. There's weight, width, slant, optical size, italics, and grade, which is custom, but our font only supports 2 of them, so we're going to use the width and the weight. So to do this, we need to write font-variation settings, and to grab the weight we use WGHT, and then we can say, before I do this, let's get this window back open so we can actually see something happening. So we're going to say weight 700. There we go. So that wasn't a very good example. I should go like this, and then we can see that has gone down to 400. Now you can see over here we brought in our 2 weights on our Source and Pro of 400 and 700. So there's 2 files there. With variable fonts, we've just got the 1 file, and we can change the weight to whatever we want off this one thing, and we can do it in small increments. So we could say 500, and we can change our mind. So we can do it in very small parts, 650, like so, and we can see the changes going on up here, which is awesome. And then we had a weight and a width as well. So in order to do the width, we can say WDTH, I believe, and then it is, so let's go, so we can come back here and look at our values. So we had a width between 500 and 200, so let's go width 175, say, and we do that, and nothing has happened because I forgot to put a comma in here, like so. And then we can see, look at that, the width has changed. Like I said, there are fonts with many variations that you can use, slant, optical size, etc. But yeah, our font's only got these 2. So yeah, let's go back to say 400, and then a width of, say, that's quite long, that, isn't it, 55. There we go, and that is more of a compressed style font there, because our value started at 50. Right, let's have a look at fallbacks. Okay, so we need to grab our regular font WOF files for our fallbacks. So let's go at font face, and go like that, and then we are going to do a source URL again, and we want to find our fonts, and in here we should see our WOF 2, and then we're going to say format, and it's a WOF2, and in you can just copy this line, I guess. Let's go like that, copy. We don't need the source on there, but let's remove that. So we'll go URL fonts, and then this was just the WOF and the WOF, like so, and then we want to say font family, and then we're going to just call this Inconsolata without the VF because it's not our variable font. Okay, and so next what we want to do is come down here and we're going to go H1, and we want to just use the normal font family. I'm just going to copy this for now. So this will target the Inconsolata, this one here. Have I spelt it right? I'm going to copy that and paste it like so. And then what we're going to do is use an @support. So we're going to say @supports rather, and then we'll say font, it's not showing up yet, font variation settings, and we'll just remove that and say normal. And then we want, oh no, what am I doing here? There we can't type today. And then we'll go like this, and then we'll close it down here. Okay, and then actually let's use a fallback on this just in case. So we'll go sans serif, and we'll do the same here on this one, so like so. And basically what that is saying is if the browser supports font variation settings, then use this. If not, we just use the normal method that's calling in the WOF2 and the WOF file here. So again, we can just grab this and change that to 600, and it might help if I didn't do 2 commas there. Wait, width, let's change the width to say 150, and there we go. There you can see that all working. So yeah, I think that's it, guys, for using web fonts in CSS. Obviously it's a massive topic and there is a lot more we could have gone through, but these are just the basics for now. But yeah, take care, have a good day, cheers then, bye.